How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another video. So first, let's address that title. Let's address that thumbnail. How are we making 4,500 gold every single hour, 24 hours a day? No, it is not by botting. Ignore Jack the Dipper, whatever he says is a lie. It is not by botting. It is a very calculated method of making gold in this game that is, it's done wonders for me. Let's talk about how I got to this number though first, because I know there's some people that are like, you know, they're sat there waiting, right, justify this number or we're going to hit the dislike button and leave. So it's pretty simple. There are 24 hours in a day. I've got 24 hours in my day, you've got 24 hours in your day. There are 365 days in a year. Doing some quick maths on that, we can work out, let's grab a calculator real quick. 24 hours in a day multiplied by 365 gives us a grand total of 8,760 possible hours in a year. A year is the time frame that I'm structuring this based on, because it's what I have data for. 8,760 hours in a year. How much gold have I been able to achieve on this one realm in a year? Well, let's move that out of the way for a second. We can check that. We have Trade School Master. Trade School Master does all the number crunching for us. Let's make sure we are on 1 year. We're in the last year, I've been able to amass a grand total of just under 40 million liquid gold on this realm. Hundreds of millions of gold worth of actual sales. We've spent hundreds of millions of gold to do stuff to be able to achieve those sales, but the grand total, the be all and end all, once we've paid for everything, once, you know, game time is done, we've been left with a little under 40 million liquid gold. Let's take that number then. Let's work out our hourly success rate then. So 40 million gold. Divide that by, what number did we say? 8,760. Boom, hey presto, there's your gold per hour over the last year in Shadowlands. Now, yeah, sure, you can go farm herbs for 20k an hour. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a steady flow of gold for me every single hour of every single day. Now, let me clarify, this is not meant to be a bit of a humble brag. This is not meant to be a look how much gold that Manthieus can make. This is more to be, this is just to grab your attention. And hopefully, if you're still watching at this point, it has grabbed your attention. So let's talk a little bit how, not so much how I achieved this, but the mindset that I used to make this possible. And more importantly, and I think more valuable to you guys, is probably if I can give you some advice so that how you can go out and do this yourself. If you can make, you know, the best part of nearly 5,000 gold every hour with minimal effort, I'm sure you would quite like to do it. So let's talk about it for a few minutes. Let's get that out of the way. At a fundamental level, it's a mindset thing. And the reason I think it's a mindset thing is because a lot of players I see get into gold making, and they get into it not for the wrong reasons, but they get into it with a few misconceptions that sends them down the wrong path. So maybe just a slight adjustment to some people's mindsets would really give them a much greater opportunity to make gold and to make it a lot easier. Let me give you an example. All so frequently, whether it be in YouTube comments, Discords, Twitter, wherever people start asking questions about gold making, you'll often see a very similar question come up, and it will be something along the lines of, "Hi, I'm new to gold making, not looking to make millions, just enough to make a couple of tokens. Where do I start?" It's a very common question. We see this quite frequently, and the question is not wrong. But what it is doing is making a few misconceptions about how people make gold in this game. Ultimately, given the option, people would love to make millions of gold, right? People would love to make tens of millions of gold if they can. They're assuming that they can't do that without spending 10, 15, 18 hours a day to achieve it. It's just not true. If I was to say do 10 star jumps and I'll give you 100,000 gold, or I was to say do 10 star jumps and I'll give you 1,000,000 gold, most people would take the 1,000,000 gold, right? It's the same amount of effort, but for a different outcome. And that's the mindset switch that I think could be useful to some players, hopefully, maybe. Let me try and explain how it works, though, in reality. How would we restructure that initial question though? That initial question is not wrong, but it's leading people down a slightly wrong path of goal making. Restructuring that initial question to be something along the lines of, okay, I only want to spend, an hour a day focused on goal making. What could I be doing to use that time more efficiently? That question is a very different question. It's basically asking the same thing of that I'm new to goal making, where do I start? But it's asking it with an efficiency mindset, not a productivity mindset. The first question people want to know just right, how much gold can I make until I've made enough and then I'm done. But an efficiency based question is a lot more productive. So let's break it down a little bit then. You're looking to spend an hour a day making gold. Fine, not a problem. Over the period of a month, that's 30 hours. That's quite a long time. You can do a lot in 30 hours. Maybe instead of just going out and doing some farming, maybe instead of just doing callings on a bunch of characters every day, maybe you level up a new ult. Let's say that takes you 10 hours to do. You then spend 2 or 3 hours getting that ult's professions in order. You level up, pick 2 professions, it doesn't matter which. You spend a couple of hours leveling up those professions. Then you realise you've still got no gold, so you go out and you do a little bit of farming on the side to generate a little bit of gold so you can do some crafting. Then you craft a bunch of stuff and you list it on the auction house. After that first initial month, sure, you've probably not hit your target. You've probably not made 10, 20, 30, 100, 300,000 gold like you were trying to achieve, but you've got some permanent progression on your characters and on your account. Meaning next month, guess what? You no longer need to level that ult again. So there's 10 hours that you don't have to spend. Your professions are already leveled. You no longer need to spend another couple of hours leveling those professions. All of a sudden, next month, when you want to spend another hour a day focused on goal making, a lot of the legwork has already been done. Now, you're doing some recrafts. Those recrafts take you maybe an hour or so a day, but you're putting stuff on the auction house in much greater quantity than you were before. More of it is selling, and hey, all of a sudden, you're actually making a lot more gold than you ever thought you could. And this effect snowballs. It snowballs almost out of control in some situations, but there is one thing that gets in the way very quickly. The thing that gets in the way is your desire to spend more time doing something. When you start spending more time, you hit what is often referred to as diminishing returns. I'll use a phrase that is very common to World of Warcraft players. The diminishing returns of gold making kind of hit quite quickly, especially in farming. If you look at farming, diminishing returns are very straightforward. If you farm for 1 hour and you farm a bunch of herbs, it's very easy to sell an hour's worth of herbs. You put them on the auction house, they sell like that, gone. If you farm for 10 hours, that's 10 times the amount of herbs. It's going to take a lot more time and a lot more effort for you to sell 10 hours worth of herbs, and in some cases you may have to start discounting the value of those herbs to be able to incentivize so many sales of any herbs. This is the curve of diminishing returns. Not to mention you had to spend 10 times the amount of physical time to achieve that. Nobody really wants to do that given the option. This is what, and this is a system that doesn't scale. Switching that mindset from straight up productivity to a more efficiency based system will allow your gold making to scale, and that is in essence how I've been able to make 40 million gold over the last year. It was a slow and steady start, but it's really starting to snowball now, and I'm not putting in any more time or any more effort. I didn't make a huge amount of gold to begin with, but now I'm making phenomenal amounts of gold with the same effort. It's wonderful to see, and you can also replicate it. So the TLDR, the basics to this is really quite simple. My recommendation is to stop focusing on how much gold you can make in just a very short period of time and start looking at doing something more efficient, more long-term sustainable for your character and your account. This can be things like leveling up some alts, getting their professions in order, just crafting a wider variety of items, Maybe even look at crafting in larger quantities. Even crafting is quite quick and easy to do, most would consider, but you know, gathering, buying the materials, sending them to the right character, crafting the items themselves, getting them back sent over to an auction house character, getting them listed on the auction house, all these things do add up. If you're doing that every day, it's going to amount to quite a lot of time. Maybe do a big restock once a week, craft 5,000 potions in an afternoon. Maybe do it once a week so that the rest of the week is a lot more time efficient. Optimize things like your trade skill master profile. As much as I hate to say it, I know people don't like to be told to optimize their trade skill master profile, but it's really, really good use of your time. It doesn't pay off instantly, but it will definitely pay off in the long term, and that's when you can start doing, eventually, things like this. Slow, steady progress until it gets to the point where you're just rinse and repeat restocking and you're off to the moon. And that's where the efficiency really, really kicks in. So I won't go too much further with this. I wanted to keep this video as short and sweet as possible. I hope there's been some valuable information in it for you. And I hope you don't feel too offended, if you're still watching at this point. I hope you don't feel too offended by the somewhat clickbaity title and thumbnail. I hope you'll forgive me on that one. But if you enjoyed the video, give the video a like. Click subscribe if you're new around here, boys and girls. And I'll catch you all next time. Peace.